Welcome, everybody. Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be with you again in this live online session and to do this co-taught. I'm very, very happy to remind you that I can't see you, but you can see me. And so we're going to be using all kinds of technology rather, so that we can actually communicate. Because I want to know your thoughts and I want to know how things are going in the classroom. And so in case you've not met me before, my name is Madame Lily, and I get to be the religion consultant for elementary religion. So I get to work with teachers and with students, and doing co-tots is one of my new favorite things to do. Still pretty new for me, so I'm really happy to be able to visit you in your schools in this way. So I'll be looking forward to some feedback from you and from your teachers at the end of all of this. So today we're meeting because we're going to be talking about a book that I recently purchased and love, and it happens to be echoing last month's special saint that we featured for the Jubilee. And so today we're going to be reading this book together, talking a little bit about these people, and one of the ways that we're going to communicate is through the Q&A. So teachers, you can always just type in those things. And then my wonderful tech team here, I'm going to give a shout out to Andrea Grant. Thank you so much for the support. And Paula is here as well, so we can all work together in the background. And there's also this Padlet, this QR code that's come up because we're going to be sharing our work on a Padlet. And I know your teachers have provided for you a handout. Now, we're going to be using this handout one section at a time, so please don't go ahead. Please stay with me, and I'll let you know what we're going to be doing and when to take photos and share those ideas so that we can interact in this way. So my first question for you is, what is your heart's desire? Like, what is it that you come alive at when you think of or do? Or what are the things that you're passionate about, things that you just love? And so that's actually the very first section of your handout. So you can choose to draw, you can choose to write words. And as you do that, I'm going to share a little bit about my own story. And so I'm going to invite your teachers to upload those as they come along. So my plan for my life when I was much younger than I am today is different than the way my life actually planned out. When I was young, I couldn't wait to be a mother. I wanted to have 6 kids. I just wanted to be a stay-at-home mom and have a lot of children and just have a real solid family life. That was one of my dreams. And the other dream I had was, if I was going to do a little work, I wanted to be an author. I wanted to write children's books. And that's not quite the way my life has rolled out. God had a really different plan for my life than the things that I was thinking about when I was much younger. So God did grant me to marry a wonderful man, and we did have one child. He wanted 5 kids. I wanted 6, but we got one. But I became a teacher, and I have taught many, many children. And I taught a lot the younger kids. And so often in my class, they would call me Mummy by accident. So, and I really did feel like all of those kids were my kids. And when I talk about my students, I don't say my students, I say my kids. So it's like I'm a mom to many, many people. And it's just such an honor. So that was a different way that I got to be a mother of many children. And while I did not write any books, or at least not yet, maybe that's something God will put into my path, but it hasn't happened. And I don't have a heart for that right now. I've read lots of stories and I've told lots of stories. And so sometimes those seeds that we have planted in us come to fruit in different ways than we expect. And so I want to know what's going on. Is the Padlet coming in with some things yet? I have to take a look. Not yet. So I'm looking forward to seeing what your passions are and what your interests are. What are your plans? What do you think God is inviting you to do? What are you looking forward to as you get older? What are you looking forward? What do you love doing right now as well? So God has a beautiful plan for your life, and God had a beautiful plan for the two people that we're going to be reading about today. And I'm going to show you something that I found and bought because I thought they were so cute. So this is one of the people we're going to be reading about. This is Martin, and no, sorry, this is Monsieur Martin. So it's Louis Martin. And you can see, I don't know if you can see that what he has in his hand there. He's got a watch. There's a reason for that. We'll talk about him while we read the book. And then this lady's name is Zélie. And Zélie, you can see, has some beautiful lace around her collar and some lace over here by her pocket. There's a reason for that as well. So Zélie and Louis are the people that we're going to be reading about, and we're going to be hearing about their stories. All right, I'm getting some entries. This is very exciting. So this is from The Attentive Ocelot. Okay, so I wanted to remind teachers, I forgot at the beginning, please tell me what school you're from so that I can actually acknowledge your school. This is great. Oh, and it's moving sideways. So it says to be a famous TikToker. Oh my goodness. And to be very good singer. This is excellent. And I'm hoping, we really need a lot of people who are out there influencing everybody in person and online in the ways to do the best we can, to do God's work, to be God's presence in the world. So guys, I'm so excited about what you're going to end up doing with your life, with all of that time, with that effort, with that energy. It's going to be beautiful. So as these come in, I'm going to refer back to my Padlet as time goes on. But what I thought I would just leave you with before we start our story is this amazing time that we have here. This life is a great adventure. And even though I have my job, I have my work, I know God's not done with me. And as I continue to live my life, He will give me more and more opportunities, more and more passions, more and more interests. And His plan for my life has not completely been revealed yet. So I can't wait to continue along this adventure. So I'm going to just take my book down here, and I'm going to put Louis back up here and Zélie. And I'm going to actually introduce you to one of their children. They actually had 9 children in all. And this is the one that you probably know the best. And you might recognize her because she's holding a cross and she's carrying roses. This is Sainte Thérèse de Lisieux. And so she was one of their 9 children. And I'll just leave them up on the shelf while we read the story. So as I read the story, we're going to read it bit by bit. We're going to work on our handout as we go on. You'll find out that God's plan for their lives too was very different than the plan that they had for themselves. And God revealed it step by step. And so wait for the instructions to know when to add the next bit to your handout. All right. One holy marriage. Once upon a bridge in Alençon, France, an ordinary man met an ordinary woman, and they fell in extraordinary love. Louis was a watchmaker, born to a military family. Growing up, his heart's desire was to become a monk. Now think about this. Here is Louis. He grew up in a military family, so a family that was very regimented and had a deep sense of duty and responsibility. And he had this dream to become a monk. So he would have dreamt about having routines and loving God, of course, and living in a monastery, living a life that was dedicated to God. God had another plan. Zélie was a lace maker, born to a devout family. Growing up, her heart's desire was to become a nun. And here's a picture of her, and you can see that she is diligently making lace, tying all of those intricate designs together. You can see the beautiful lace in the background on her curtains. And her desire was to devote her life too to God. And she wanted to live in a convent with the other nuns and devote her life to serving God in whatever way he had called. But guess what? God had a different plan, another plan for her. So I'm going to actually ask you now to reflect upon the talents that you have. So God has given you gifts and talents and interests, things you're good at, things you love to do. So now on that second part of the page, where the children are jumping for joy, I would like you to now go ahead and draw and write about the things that you love to do. And I'll see you back in a few minutes. We'll listen to some music while you do that. I know you're all working so hard. I'm waiting to be able to see your work, so once you've got some shots, please do submit them on this Padlet so I can take a look at how things are going. And teachers, I just wanted to give you a little bit of a heads up that now the technology is allowing us to pause if you need some extra time, and then you can continue to watch after. It's kind of neat how things are progressing. I'll let you work a little bit longer, and then we'll come back together. Wow, there are so many beautiful things coming in at St. Andrews from Mrs. McCready's class. Amazing work here. I see artists and musicians. I see people who love sports, competitive sports as well. Our Lady Queen of Peace. Oops, I'm just trying to get closer on that. If I click on it, there we go. Oh, beautiful. So many interests. Outdoor things, summer things, games. Lincoln, I really like your work. Now, how to make this smaller? Press back. Oh, and St. Mark's School too. You guys are really great artists. I love this. St. Andrew, St. Mark, talents, folk dance. Ooh, Polish folk dancing. I did Hungarian folk dancing. It is so much fun. Volleyball, math, and of course, a loving heart. Isn't that something we all have? What a gift that God has given us all, a loving heart. And that is what we want to share with each other. And how to learn how to choose love. Oh my goodness. And teachers out there already loving to sing and dance. Our Lady Queen of Peace, some more work here. Amazing. St. Andrew, thank you so much. You can move your ears. That's awesome. My daughter can move her ears too. I can only do it like this. Taekwondo, badminton, so many talents. And the great thing is that throughout your whole lives, you're going to continue to discover that you have more talents you don't even know about. I'm going to continue reading our story. Oh, I forgot. Nope, it's here. It was spring. The leaves rustled in the April breeze, and Zélie could hear the water flowing beneath her feet as she strolled across the Saint Leonard Bridge, a bag of lace slung over her back, over her shoulder. Suddenly, she noticed a young man. His soft features and kind eyes held her glance in that still, brief moment. She heard, above the bird song, a voice whisper in her heart, "This is he whom I have prepared for you." And there's her walking across the bridge. I can't even see what I'm showing you. And then here's a close-up of them meeting. There's nothing for us to write, but I want you to pause and think. When have you heard God's voice? When do you feel he is talking to you, saying things, suggesting an action, telling you you are loved, maybe nudging you in a direction of something he wants you to do? So just for a moment, close your eyes and think about how it is that God talks to you. How is he present in your life? I've come to visit many of you at your schools, and I know when I came to do my presentation in the gym that was a bit loud, we talked about how God is present. Think about this and listen for his voice. I'm going to continue our story. So Louis and Zélie, the match made in heaven, fell in love. Together, they would uncover God's better plan. In the heat of a French summer day, only 3 short, prayerful months after their meeting on that bridge above the South River, the watchmaker and the lacemaker met at the foot of the altar. In the candlelit Basilica of Notre Dame, their hopeful eyes locked on one another, and with her soft hands in his strong grasp, they made a promise to have and to hold. From this day forward, for better or for worse, for richer or for poorer, in sickness, in health, till death do us part. And then Zélie and Louis Martin, once 2 strangers passing on a bridge, became one. Now, these are promises that people make to each other when they get married, to have and to hold from this day forward. So from that moment on, they are for one another. They're for one another in better and worse. We don't know what life brings to us, but we get to go through life with a partner. For richer or for poorer, we have great plans. I wanted to be a millionaire when I was young. That was my hope. God had a different plan for me than that. But we are together, my husband and I, for richer or for poorer, in sickness and in health. And of course, we do get sick and then we get better. And some people get sick and don't. So no matter what, to be together in all those circumstances until death do us part. Together, they loved, and their faithful and fruitful love shone brightly in the faces of many children, their little flowers in God's garden. Together, they came to know God better, not only in the sacraments that they were so wholly devoted to, but also to each other. Here's a picture of one of the babies. Do you remember how many children they had? I think I mentioned at the beginning. They had 9 children altogether. Together, they served God, not in a cloistered monastery or in a quiet convent, as they had planned, but in between the walls of an ordinary home and in ordinary places, doing ordinary work. Just like you and me, we do ordinary things in our ordinary lives. And that's what they did. Time passed and seasons changed. When tragedy hit the Martin household again and again and again, they never forgot about God and his plans, which always work for the good of those who love him. Zélie rested her head on Louis's shoulder, staring at the flowers surrounding the loose dirt. We are in this together, she sighed, fatigued by the loss. Until death do us part. Can you guess what has happened? And until heaven unites us, Louis replied, a tear rolling down his cheek as he kissed the top of Zélie's head. Then they laid another child to rest, imagining their young daughter dancing with her brothers in God's heavenly garden. I mentioned that they had 9 children. 5 were able to live full lives, but 4 went to heaven early. Louis and Zélie certainly saw better and worse. They saw riches and forms of poverty. They saw much sickness, but thankfully they saw health. Together, they planted seeds of faith, hope, and charity. Faith in God, faith in one another, faith placed in hope. Oh, the second one's hope. Hope, but not just like I hope it's going to be a sunny day. Hope that we have a place in heaven that God is preparing for us. Hope that God is with us throughout all of the circumstances of our lives. And charity. Charity is that love that we live in service for others. How do we help one another? Seeds of perseverance, piety, and kindness. Perseverance. I'm going to see this through to the end. No matter how technology stops working for me, I'm going to keep on trying until it works. Piety. That is the ability to pray and to pray in all circumstances, in good things and in difficult things, and to rely on God. And kindness. Well, we know all about kindness, don't we? We love being kind to each other, and we love it when people are kind to us because that's how we become able to show God's love to one another. Seeds of generosity, diligence, and discipline. To be generous, you know what that means. To be diligent, which means to always do the best that we can. And discipline means I'm going to stick to it and I'm going to have the discipline to see things through and to do them the best way that I can. The seeds sprouted and a new generation of saints began to blossom. Together, the Martin family lived and longed for heaven. And they talked about this a lot in their family, that this life that we're on, and it's such a beautiful thing that we're in this year of pilgrims of hope, right, in our Jubilee year, because we know and we're thinking already about how this life is for us to prepare for our heavenly home. Here we get to journey through this life so that we can get ready for where everything is as God wants. Peace, love, joy, and happiness, no sickness, only good. One balmy afternoon, the couple sat on a bench, holding hands and watching their daughters talk and play in the garden. Dresses trimmed with lace, their slender arms covered from the sun to protect them, right? And you remember Zélie made lace, so she probably made these dresses for her girls. Look at the flowers in the garden, Daddy and Mummy. Their daughter Therese yelped with glee, running toward them. The roses and the lilies and the violets, the daisies. Look at this spring's loveliness. She flung her arms around Zélie, a small bouquet she had picked in her right hand, tickling her mother's ear. Look at that. Oh, how I wish, darling Mummy and Daddy, that you would die. Therese, Zilly scolded. Why would you say such a thing? It's so that you can go to heaven, Therese replied. For you say that one has to die to go there. Louis glanced at Zilly, half a smile running across his lips. It is true, my little queen. Louis brushed a piece of hair away from her cheek and pulled his daughter onto his lap. By God's grace, I pray that we will all be in heaven someday together. What an unexpected thing for someone to say, but it's true. One day, you and I hope, we'll see each other in heaven. And that's what we yearn for. We yearn for that because that's where all of our hope, our desire, our joy, that's the source and that's the summit. I can't wait to get to heaven. At sunset that evening, over Alençon, Louis and Zélie made their nightly visit to the Adoration Chapel. On bended knee in front of the Blessed Sacrament, they shared a heavy, deep sigh. And together, they fixed their gaze on the one other whom they loved even more than each other, praising him and thanking him. They asked him for healing of the broken road behind them and his grace to travel the road ahead. We'll come back. I'll talk about this later. What beautiful bouquets our daughters are, Louis. Zélie's eyes gleamed with gratitude. Sorry, I read the wrong part of the page. I could just start at the top. Louis caught hold of Zélie's arm as she tripped on the threshold leading the chapel, and they walked home hand in hand, sharing happy memories. Do you like to talk about your memories too? We used to usually do this around special meals in our house around Christmas and Thanksgiving and birthdays. We talk about our happy memories. They were talking about Marie's first communion, of the girls running to them for hugs at their homecoming from boarding school. They had gone away to school for some of their years. Of the children's eyes shining as they opened their New Year's gifts from their aunt and uncle. I bet you love opening gifts too. What beautiful bouquets our daughters are, Louis. Zélie's eyes gleamed with gratitude, and no doubt on the road to heaven if they are half as saintly as their mother. Louis winked at his wife, and Zélie's lips met Louis's cheek. Over time, Zélie's health weakened as cancer wreaked havoc on her body. Louis brought his ailing bride to Mass as often as possible. No sickness would keep her from receiving her greatest love in the Eucharist. Who was her greatest love? Of course, it was Jesus. The sacraments continued to fill both Louis and Zélie with the grace they needed to face her impending death together. On a warm, otherwise ordinary August day, Louis sat at the foot of Zélie's sickbed, their weary and hopeful eyes locked, his strong hand stretched out to hold her soft one, and they remembered their promise to have and to hold from this day forward, for better or for worse, in sickness and in health, till death do us part. Memories flooded Zélie's heart, and in her mind she was at once back at the St. Leonard Bridge, staring into Louis's kind eyes, the one whom God had prepared for her. She was back in those moments of grief for loss of her children, moments of joy watching her daughters dance in the garden, moments of surrender falling on her knees before her beloved in that small white host. She remembered her daughter Hélène's words right before she passed. Poor little mother, do not cry. In a moment, I'm going to be cured. Zélie looked with love into her husband's eyes one last time, and she entered into eternal rest, the promise on her heart and her soul filled with hope as she went to meet the one other that she and Louis had loved even more than each other. She went to meet God. And isn't that a lovely memory she had before she died, that one of her children, Hélène, who had been sick and old enough to be able to talk about how much she loved God as well, who was not afraid to die, she said, "Don't worry, don't be sad for me, because soon I'm going to be healthy and I'm going to be in God's garden." Grayish days passed, and now it was Louis who came to the altar, that same altar where he and Zélie had met with hopeful eyes, her soft hands in his strong grasp, the altar where they made their promise. He knelt there without his wife, heart full of loss and full of hope, for he knew his bride was now dancing with her other children in God's garden, in the presence of her greatest love. "Goodbye for now, Zélie," Louis whispered to himself, "until heaven reunites us." Grabbed the hand of his little queen, and Thérèse and her sisters helped lift their father from the kneeler. They walked out of the church and into another day, each step closer to their heavenly home, where Zélie and the one other whom all the Martin family loved even more than each other waited for them, and they would meet again to spend forever together. This is what you and I are doing too. Every step that we take for the rest of our lives is toward heaven. And that is a beautiful thing to remember. And it's a beautiful thing to think about, because that's what this whole life is for, to get ready for heaven. And so, as you and I continue to walk towards God, it's really neat to think that last Sunday we celebrated the ascension. That's when we remember how God ascended into heaven. So we're almost at the end of the Easter season, right? We've got this last week, and this Sunday we're going to be celebrating Pentecost. And so it's really amazing to remember that promise that Jesus made just before he ascended into heaven, where he told us that he's going to his Father's house to prepare a room for us, for you, and for me, for everyone. And I really wonder what that's going to look like. I really wonder what it's going to be like to be in heaven. God has that best ultimate plan for our lives, and it's even more wonderful than the plan that we imagine for ourselves. And it is a joy to discover that as we live our lives. And God's going to reveal that to you too, step by step. Already he's placed all those gifts and talents and wonderings and things you're excited about, things that you love. And so what I'm going to do is invite you now to look at the next page, part of our handout. This is the picture of the little boy, and he's writing. And I want you to think about, how are the ways that you're already getting close to God? What do you already do in your life to get close to God, to feel close to God, and to stay close to God? Again, we'll have a few short minutes, but as soon as your work is ready, let your teacher know and she can upload those to the Padlet. Thank you. Have a great work time. Why, hello everyone. I think things are starting to come on for this beautiful part, but I just wanted to say thank you to Saint Damien for your beautiful contributions to Saint Damien. Someone drew how you have to hold your hands to hit the volleyball. That's amazing. You are a great artist. And I see all kinds of other things here. Now I'm going to click on Saint Andrew, grade 6, being kind, being sportsmanlike. That's very important. Thank you so much. Being loving and praying, yes, and when we're treating others in that kind way, when we're being good sport and we're encouraging others and we're happy for whoever wins, this is how we show God's love. Oh, oh yeah, the Bible too, like reading Holy Scripture is really, really important. And if we could do that every day, we're going to get closer and closer to God because we get to know who God is through His Holy Scripture. And going to Mass and spending time with your family, we get to know God through others, through our friends, through our family, through our teachers. And hopefully, I'm able to show a little bit of who God is through the things that I am doing with you as well. Now, sometimes you and I have already gone through some tough times, right? Some hard things in life. And that's something that's normal for everybody. This world will bring hard things. And I don't know if you've heard that scripture passage yet in your experience. Teachers, I'm sure you have, that in this world you will have hard times, but do not fear. I have conquered the world. And that's Jesus saying that. So if we are a friend of Jesus, he's already conquered all these hard things and he will help us to be able to do things, anything that is necessary. The other scripture passage that stays in my heart is from Philippians, and it says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So thank you so much. Think about and spend time getting close to God in all those ways. And I know that we do have one more section on our paper, but we're going to save that so that you can do that in your class together. And I wanted to leave you with my last thoughts on this book. And I also wanted to leave you with a little present so that you can get to that final section of the paper after. So from this book, the things that stayed with me and the things that I loved best about this book were that togetherness of family and that suffering and joy. They go hand in hand and they are together, and we get to experience all those things and share all those things with the ones that we love. And that the Martin family longed for and lived for heaven. They knew that that is where our destination is, and that gives us great, great hope. And the other thing that was awesome and that I hold on to is that they did ordinary things and they became extraordinary by doing those ordinary things. So you and I, we do ordinary things. Let's become that extraordinary self because we carry Jesus with us. So we're going to spend our lives getting ready for heaven. You and I, we're going to help each other and encourage each other. And so I'm going to encourage you to finish that page, and I'd like you to keep sending those pictures to me on that Padlet so I can see what you're doing. But before you go, I want to leave you with a small gift, and it's maybe something you've already opened, but maybe it's not. So now I'm going to share my screen with you, and we're going to go and take a look at the Jubilee calendar. And I don't know if in your class you've had time to go and explore. Last month, when we were featuring in the month of May, we were featuring the saints of the Jubilee year, and that was the Martin family, because as I mentioned, Louis and Zélie actually had 9 kids, 5 of whom survived, and every single person in that family has been named a saint, like an official saint in heaven. And so I'm going to now click on number 1 because you can explore all the different parts of their lives, but there's a really great video that is here on the first one. So I'm going to just play this video for you, and I hope you enjoy it. What I forgot to do was share my sound. Let's do that again. Share sound window. Here we go.
The Lord gave me a father and mother more worthy of heaven than earth. I have had the happiness of belonging to parents who have no equal.
Louis makes my life sweet. He is truly my holy husband. I would wish a husband like him for every woman. I had never intended on marriage. That all changed when I met your father. I heard a deep voice within me. He is the one I have prepared for you. He was with me through all the sadness of our lives. And all the joys.
I want to tell you, my dear children, that I have the urgent desire to thank God and to make you thank God. I feel that our family, though very humble, has the honor of being among the most blessed of our adorable Creator.
Soon we will be in our native homeland. Soon the joys of our childhood, the Sunday evenings, our secret conversations, all of this will be given back to us forever, and with interest. Soon.
Wow, I really love that movie. I'm gonna put my other glasses back on so I can see you again. Oh, I think I have to stop it properly, don't I? There we go, that's better. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, and I want you to work on that plan. How to prepare for heaven. How are you going to make this plan? And this is a plan we keep revising. Boys, girls, teachers, we keep working on this plan of how we're going to get to heaven, because that is our eternal destiny and that's our ultimate place that we want to meet. So let's make a promise. You and I, we're going to meet each other in heaven. We're going to have a big old party. So thank you so much for joining me today. Teachers, I welcome your feedback. I'd like to know how this actually played out in your classrooms. Boys and girls, have a wonderful rest of your school year and a great summer. Keep your eyes open because I've got some really cool Jubilee things planned for your families. You guys all can have that Jubilee calendar, and I've got lots of activities for the summer that you can do over the summertime. And I'll see you in the fall. God bless everyone. Bye, everyone.